Which Week 12 totals should you bet? Welcome, football fans, gridiron gamblers, and every last one of you degenerates. It's Mitch here with my 5 favorite over-unders for Week 12 of the 2025 NFL season. Before I give you the totals that I love in Week 12, Gronk, spike the like button. It's free. Show your love, show your appreciation for this video. If you like seeing my best bets every week, then like the video. And don't be a jabroni. Subscribe to the channel, man. If you want to make some money betting on the NFL every week, I'm Money Mitch, and it's time to make some money. We're going to kick it off with probably the most vanilla pick that you could possibly make in Week 12. And you guys know I'm the Undertaker, right? But I do have a couple overs that I like this week. A couple overs. We're still more unders than overs, but there's a couple. We're going to start it off with an ugly under. Just for you guys. Just for you, because I know how much you love it. So let's kick it off with the Cleveland Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. Under 36. Yes, 36. I'm taking the under. It is really low, but I'm still taking the under. Why? Well, Cleveland has scored 20 points. Over 20 points. One time all year. Once. The Raiders have scored 20 plus 3 times. And those defenses, Jacksonville, Chicago, Washington, they play Cleveland this week. So a team that can't score 20 points and a team that against good defenses doesn't score 20 points, I think it's likely we go under 36. Fundamentals. Now, further breaking it down, the Cleveland Browns defense is one of the 5 best in football, and it's absolutely, utterly elite at home. In this game, they're on the road, and they're taking on a Geno Smith-led Raiders team that has possibly the worst offensive line in football, that got absolutely decimated by Dallas's defensive front last week. Sack after sack, pressure after pressure, hurried throw after hurried throw. Quinnen Williams is amazing, but he's not that big of a difference, okay? That was bad. The Raiders' offensive line inherently is really bad, and they're taking on Myles Garrett, who is searching for a historic season. He's going for 23, 24, 25. He's on pace for 25 and a half sacks. Myles Garrett. He's on pace for one of the best seasons we've ever seen by a defensive player, and especially a defensive end. And he's not going to stop until he gets that record. And he's taking on a Colton Miller-less Raider tackle situation. Myles Garrett might have 6 sacks in this game. He's going to hit Geno over and over and over. And then you combine that with the Browns aren't just good with Myles Garrett on the defensive front. They're first in pass rush win rate, and they're first in run stop win rate on the defensive line. This is a good defensive line. Malik Collins, Mason Graham, Wright, who they just re-signed. Right, they've got a good defensive front. Shelby Harris. The list goes on. So it's all around, not just Myles Garrett who's going to dominate, but the collective whole. Jackson Powers-Johnson for the Raiders also out long term. So 2 of their starters out, one on the inside, one on the outside. Geno has no weaponry in this game. Tyler Lockett is washed. Trey Tucker is skinny. He can't get off press. Jack Besh has barely shown up this year. Dante Thornton has been benched. So their passing game weapons outside of Brock Bowers are pathetic. And sure, Brock Bowers might make a play or two to put the Raiders in position to win. Or the Browns and Jim Schwartz, one of the best deep coordinators in the league, going to allow Brock Bowers to just go crazy? I don't think so. He'll probably have some catches, but I don't think he's going to go nuclear here. Denzel Ward is going to be able to lock up anybody in his vicinity. And like I said, I just don't think the Raiders are going to have any time to throw. Like, the defensive front of the Browns are going to decimate the Raiders. And then you couple that with the fact that the Raiders have no run game. No run game. Well, check Genty's stats against the Cowboys. The Browns are the best team, the number one defense in rush success rate this season. So they are elite at rushing the quarterback. They have the best defensive player in football, and they are elite at stopping the run. They are taking on an offense with a quarterback that constantly turns the ball over, doesn't have any protection, doesn't have any receivers, and doesn't have a run game. So the Raiders might score 17, 20 points, but that might be good enough to win. Why? Well, the Browns are starting Shedeur Sanders, who is not an NFL starting quarterback. He is a third-string NFL quarterback, and he is really only starting because of injuries to Dylan Gabriel, trades that the Cleveland Browns have made, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. The only reason Sanders is playing is because of that. And probably because the owner wants to see him play because his name's Sanders and they drafted him and they want to see if he's got anything at all. In the preseason, he was a disaster. He took constant sacks. Held the ball way too long. Looked erratic, inaccurate, and just not athletic, period. Last week, he entered the game against the Ravens. He turned it over not once, but twice. He only threw the ball 16 times. The only scare for this over here is turnovers and short fields. That is the only scare. Otherwise, these are two defenses that are elite against the run. First in success rate for Cleveland, as mentioned. Second in yards per attempt for the Raiders. Both teams will shut down the run, force both teams to be one-dimensional, and neither team can throw the ball. Neither team has receivers. They both have good tight ends, but no receivers. Neither team has good offensive tackle situations that can block Max Crosby or Myles Garrett. The Raiders' strength of their defense is their front seven stopping the run and getting pressure, which will equate to sacks and stops against Shedeur because he holds the ball way too long. He doesn't process a defense, and he's very weak at calculating against the blitz. And he can't really move that well. So the Raiders' biggest weakness on defense is their secondary, their corner position. But the Browns don't have any receivers. Jerry Jeudy's all right. I just don't know how, if this game is 36, right? I don't think either team will get to 20 points. And I certainly don't think both teams will get to 20 points. I think we're looking at staring at a 17-14 game. Unless there is a kick return, a punt return, a fumble return, something of that nature, I don't know how either team throws the ball successfully enough. And I certainly don't think either team will run the ball successfully enough. And both teams will want to run the ball in this game, which also equates to time of possession, chewing the clock, and a shorter game, which leads to less points. So it's the most obvious pick, but it is the pick. Under 36 for the Raiders and the Browns. Next, we've got the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Under 47.5. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Philadelphia's defense. I'm an even bigger fan of Houston, as you guys know, but the Eagles are right there with the Texans. And coming from me, that is saying a lot, I think. The Eagles' defense is awesome, especially, I don't think people have calculated how much better they've gotten since adding Jalen Phillips. So it's a perfect time to bet them. As I told you to bet them on Sunday night under against the Lions last week. That was money, okay? Bet them again. The Eagles are a dead nut, absolute trigger for a under every single week. Their defense, their pass rush, Jalen Carter is the best defensive tackle in football. Jordan Davis and Ajomo are an awesome complement in the run and pass game. Jalen Phillips, who they acquired from Miami, has completely rejuvenated this edge pass rush. Nolan Smith is an excellent number 2 edge rusher, so they've essentially rejuvenated their pass rush from last year to this year. After losing Milton Williams to the Patriots and Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, they have basically recrafted it to recreate those individuals. Jalen Phillips is Josh Sweat, and Ajomo has really become Milton Williams. Maybe not quite as good, but pretty close, and Jordan Davis has upped his game to help complement Jalen Carter, who's also gotten better. So you could make an argument the pass rush of the Eagles is actually better this year than it was last year. Scary thought, okay? The secondary isn't quite as good. Their only real weakness is Adoree Jackson, and they don't have great speed at safety, but their linebackers are awesome. You've got Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, and Jahad Campbell, who comes in as sub-package player. Vic Fangio has this defense rolling schematically. When he has a front four that can pressure with four, he is a dangerous defensive coordinator, and he shuts down offense after offense. This is probably the most challenging offense that the Eagles have faced in a while, but it's also the most challenging defense that Dallas has faced in a while. They do have two corners in Quinyon Mitchell and Coop DeJean who can shut down most duos in football, like Pickens and Lamb. And if Dallas does play Lamb in the slot and Pickens out wide, I'd think that Quinyon would take Pickens out wide and Coop would take CD in the slot. Now, the problem could be if Dallas does try to line up both receivers out wide, which is where maybe they could have some problems. But I don't think that's really the only area where I see Dallas like totally tearing apart Philly on this side of the ball. Dak is going to make plays. Those receivers are going to make plays. They have a really good offense, especially at home. But this is a high total. This is 47.5. We're not talking about 38, 41, 44. This is a 47.5, which means both teams have to score in the 20s. It's expected to be a close game, a point spread of 3 or 3.5. You're expecting a 24-23 game. You're expecting a 27-20 game. You're expecting a 28-21, 28-20 type game. That's what you're expecting in this game. And I just don't think either team will be able to score in the high 20s. I don't think that the Eagles' offense is good enough to score in the high 20s against a capable defense. Dallas is now a capable defense. They are not as bad as they were. And so I just look at both of these defenses and I say, Philly was looked at as a good defense. Now I think they're an elite defense after the acquisitions they've made, especially Jalen Phillips, the injuries that they've returned, so guys like Nolan Smith, and Nakobe Dean as well, and then just like the cohesiveness of the unit and how the pass rush has made the secondary better. So Philadelphia has come together from a good to a great defense. Dallas has gone from a terrible, atrocious defense to more of a mediocre defense because they added Quinnen Williams, who is a game changer. He is on a short list. He's a top 10 defensive tackle in football. He might be a top 5 defensive tackle, especially in this system. Okay? He makes Dallas elite in one specific area, run defense. He's the number 1 graded run defender in football at his position. And when Dallas added him, they now have the versatility on the defensive front to use 3 defensive tackles on early downs. Adigi Zua, who can shift to the edge, who's a phenomenal pass rusher on sub-package and third downs. So you can move him inside. Kenny Clark, who's an awesome run stuffer. Jadeveon Clowney, who's also been an amazing run stuffer throughout his career at the edge. Dante Fowler, who's more of a sub-package third down guy. Same as Ezeraku, the rookie, who's really come on as of late. And they have others like Sam Williams, who I really like. So, and then Houston, they have a really deep defensive line. They're very good on the defensive line. And guys, the score was 24-20 in week 1. Philly couldn't even take advantage of an all-time bad defense in week 1. The week later, Russell Wilson scored 40 points. Remember that? Yeah, that was the same Dallas defense. So, and Dallas is at home, which should only help their defense in a lot of ways. Logan Wilson is back, or added from the trade from Cincinnati, and Logan Wilson looked like a good fit last week against the Raiders, just in terms of intelligence, awareness, coverage, and then Overshown is back. Overshown's one of the top 10 most talented linebackers in football. He didn't quite play all the snaps last week, but his speed and range really helps the Cowboys in run and pass coverage. And then you've got your safeties back, Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker, who were missing for about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. And then on top of that, you've got Siobhan Revel, the rookie corner, who is a better, probably, version of Kaiir Elam opposite Deron Bland. So Dallas is upgraded at numerous positions. Their defensive front is very strong and very deep. Their linebacking core has 2 new starters, and both are good football players. Their safeties are both returning from injury. Their corner position has gotten a little deeper, a little fresher, and a little younger and faster. So that's all good. So when we look at Philly, their offense, they're pathetic in the pass game. They have no rhythm, no rhyme, no reason. Jalen Hurts, all he can do is dump the ball, or he can throw the ball deep on one-on-one shots. Well, Dallas plays a lot of zone coverage and umbrella coverage. They're going to force a lot of underneath throws, rally and tackle, and get a pass rush. No Lane Johnson in this game, which is significant for the Philadelphia offense. They can't run the ball, and I don't think they'll be able to run the ball against Dallas. I really don't. That defensive line's too good. Saquon really couldn't have a good game in week 1, and I think it'll be even worse this time around, okay? Jalen Carter, who didn't play the last time they played, is playing in this game, right? Jalen Phillips playing in this game, so less points inclined here for Dallas, really. But George Pickens is more involved in the offense, so Dallas has a little bit more chemistry built up offensively, but Philly is much more talented defensively. So Dallas, I think, is going to be able to shut down Saquon, force Jalen Hurts into awkward positions, rush the quarterback with their new front four, get pressure without Lane Johnson there. And the only real prayer that the Eagles have moving the ball is short passes, get into 3rd and 4th and 1 and push their way, and occasionally maybe find Devontae Smith. But other than that, I think A.J. Brown is going to be frustrated. I think the Eagles as a whole are frustrated inside the locker room with the way they're passing the football. I don't think it's going to get any better here. And I just think I believe in the Eagles defense a ton. So really it comes down to I believe in the Eagles defense and how elite they are, and I believe that Dallas is significantly improved. So that's why I think this under is mispriced. I like the under 47.5. Okay. Next up, we've got the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. This is in Baltimore. I'm going to go with the under here, our third and final under for the video. Okay. So this comes down to a couple things. The Jets don't score a lot of points, period. Tyrod Taylor's the new quarterback, not Justin Fields. Tyrod is more of an under quarterback. He is a dink and dunk quarterback. He is not a guy that turns it over very much, so there's not going to be a lot of short fields. He doesn't really push the ball downfield, so there's not going to be a lot of explosive plays. There's no Garrett Wilson, so no elite option at receiver for Tyrod Taylor, who's more of a passer than a runner. Justin Fields more of a runner than a passer. The offensive line of the Jets and Breece Hall might find some success, but that kind of leans into why I like the under for both of these sides. So I think the avenue to moving the ball is running the ball for the Jets, which obviously, as we've discussed already, that milks the clock. That chews the clock, and that eats up time of possession. And the Jets' goal is always to have a long possession, run the football, and keep Lamar on the sidelines, as they tried to do to Drake May and the Patriots last week, and it was successful a couple of times early in the game. And then on the other side, I think the avenue for the Ravens, especially with an immobile, banged-up Lamar, is to keep the ball on the ground with Derrick Henry. With no Quinnen Williams in the middle for the Jets, you can run the ball on them a little bit. I actually think the Jets are pretty decent in pass coverage. They have very fast linebackers that I think can corral Lamar and these screens and quick throws of the Ravens. And I think Stevens and Brownlee are pretty competitive in man-to-man coverage on the outside. Rashad Bateman has also been banged up, as well as Isaiah Likely. So the Ravens are kind of beat up at the playmaker positions. Zay Flowers should be able to make plays, but the Jets, their pass rush isn't great. But I like how they've played overall defensively. They're just competing hard. They take one too many penalties, but they really make you earn it. They play a lot of man-to-man coverage. They're physical. They're fast at linebacker, and they overall just play with good energy. So I think Aaron Glenn will have them up for this game. And with Tyrod protecting the football, that's going to, I think, be better for the under. The fact that he doesn't push the ball down the field, better for the under. The fact that the Ravens have a quarterback who they need to stay healthy and probably won't push the limits of. He's probably not going to run very much. He's not going to put himself in harm's way. If they're up by multiple scores, they might just kind of like start running the ball and put their backup in. Like, it wouldn't even be surprising. So, and you look at Baltimore, their defense has gotten a lot better lately. They're also a lot healthier. Marlon Humphrey didn't play last week, will play this week. Kyle Hamilton looks like he's playing. Roquan Smith looks like he's playing. The 3 games since Lamar has returned, the defense has allowed under 20 points in all 3 games against Miami, against Minnesota, right? So, and then there's one team that I'm missing, Cleveland. So against Cleveland, who's a similar caliber offense to the Jets, right? Minnesota, who's more talented than the Jets, they've allowed under 20 points. So really what we're talking about here is like, I could see this game being like 27-10, 27-13, something in that range, 27-14, 28-14, something in that range. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to score enough here to be able to push this over. I don't think the Ravens are going to be pushing the limit, especially for Lamar Jackson. And honestly, what I've seen from the Baltimore passing games in the last couple of weeks has not been like electric or anything. And I think the Jets, the simplicity of their defense, the fact that they like to blitz and play man, I do kind of think that plays into Lamar in his current form. And I think that allows them to stay in the game in certain moments and get some third down stops. So both teams are going to be run heavy. I think that leans towards the under here. Under 44.5, Baltimore, New York. Now for our overs, both primetime overs. So Tampa Bay, LA, I like over 49.5 with the Bucs and the Rams. Okay, so the last two games for the Bucs, 28-23, a loss to New England, which went over 49.5. And 44-32 at Buffalo, which went over. Now, the reason I bring those games up is because it's two games where the Bucs came off the bye week with both their tackles intact, Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke, and they looked much better offensively, scoring 23 and 32 points. But also, because these are two games against really good offenses where their defense didn't play that well, honestly. So, and they allowed a lot of explosive plays. They're playing a similar caliber offense to the Los Angeles Rams in the Patriots and the Bills. The Rams are a very good offense, right? With an MVP quarterback. And they're also playing on the road here. They allowed 44 on the road last week. Now, Josh Allen went nuclear. He went Superman. It's hard to expect 40 from the Rams. But I've seen Sean McVay against Todd Bowles a number of times. And he's had his number a number of times. The way that Bowles inherently likes to play is he likes to stack the box. He likes to play the run. And he likes to blitz. And those are all things that I think are not good against McVay, because McVay finds ways to play action. When you stack the box in over-aggression towards the run, it leaves plays open down the field. Secondly, when he blitzes, McVay is a specialist with the screen game, and he always finds the right time to call that play at the right time against Todd Bowles, seemingly. And then even if the Rams can't run the ball, McVay has shown a pivot against Todd Bowles to go pass heavy in these games. And I think both these teams will be pass heavy in this game. I think that the Bucs can have success throwing the ball underneath against the Rams, who are a bend but don't break defense and do allow a lot of yards. They allowed over 400 last week, despite Seattle turning it over 4 times, but they don't allow a lot of points. And then the Bucs, who are very aggressive, allow a lot of explosive plays. Stafford is going to hit explosive plays. He is a great downfield passer. He's very good under pressure, and he's excellent against the blitz and has been for a long time. And with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams, and then the scheming of Sean McVay, I think they will be able to find those opportunities. Also, the Bucs are missing 2 key players for their pass defense. Hassan Reddick has been out for a number of weeks, and he's really hurt their pass rush not having him. And then also Jamel Dean has been their best corner this year and is unlikely to play, which will really help Davante Adams go off in this game. I don't know if the Bucs really have an answer for Puka Nacua here. So I expect the Bucs to be able to stop Kyren, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop the pass of Stafford, and Stafford could have 300 plus, 3-4 touchdowns in this game because of the way that the Bucs like to play against really every offense. And I think they're going to continue to get burnt down the field. On the other side, like I said, we've seen precise, precision, accurate, quick passers have success against the Rams, specifically Mac Jones, who twice scored 26 points for the 49ers, dumping the ball off underneath to his back, McCaffrey, throwing over the middle of the field to guys like Tonjes and George Kittle, and then like quick, posts and slants to guys like Kendrick Bourne and Jawan Jennings. Okay, the other team to score 26 points was Philly. This was the most amount of points that the Rams have allowed this year. 26 twice to San Francisco and 26 to Philly. And Philly's formula was they got behind. They actually were terrible in the first half. And then Hurts just started spamming, throwing the ball outside the numbers to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I think Chris Godwin's back. That should definitely help this formula. Quick screens, quick throws. And Quentin Lake the best defensive back on the Rams is out. That guy that makes those tackles, that guy that covers the underneath area and the slot position. Emeka Egbuka, I think, and Chris Godwin will be able to work the underneath areas, as well as Cade Otton and Rachaad White. So I think the Bucs are well structured against zone coverage to be able to take advantage of the soft spots and continuously complete passes underneath the defense. If the Rams get a little too aggressive, that's where maybe a Tez Johnson could come through with a big play down the field. And Baker looked real healthy last week running the ball and scrambling and moving, which is something that can convert third downs. So the Rams are a very soft zone coverage defense. I trust a good quarterback in Baker to be able to find the holes, make the throws, and keep up to Stafford in a shootout-like atmosphere, especially with his tackles back intact to be able to protect him with Wirfs and Gedeke. The Rams will get some sacks. They will get some pressures at times with the interior, but I think that the Bucs have enough balance, the Bucs have enough weapons to be able to make plays consistently, especially if they're an underdog. Baker typically rises to the occasion. So I'm going to take the over 49.5 rather than trying to guess that the Bucs are going to keep in this game. So I could see like a 34-21 game or like a 33-20 or a 31-24. I think in all cases it goes over. I expect the Rams to hit 30, and I expect the Bucs to hit the low 20s at the very least. Carolina at San Francisco. Over 49.5 on Monday Night Football. This is as simple as this. I don't think the Niners offense can be stopped right now. And number two, I don't know if the Niners can stop anyone right now. So this is a 49ers play. It's, they're not a good defense. They don't have a great pass rush, and they're susceptible in a lot of areas. So the biggest question about this game is, can Carolina and Bryce Young continue to move the ball? Last week, they did really well, in my opinion, against a better pass defense than what San Francisco offers in the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think that's really disputable. And that was in Atlanta as well. And San Francisco, they're not exactly known for like horrific weather, so it might be a little windy, but I wouldn't think that Bryce would be affected by anything there. So it's in San Francisco, of course. So I think Carolina, the strength of their offense is their offensive line. And San Francisco, without Nick Bosa, really can't get to the quarterback. Unless Robert Saleh dials up a perfect blitz, which might get there occasionally on third down, I think that Carolina will be able to drive the length of the field with quick, efficient passes. And we know how good Carolina's run game is with Rico Dowdle. Now, the only way I think the Carolina Panthers struggle to really stay in this game is if they just spam the run early and the 49ers are prepared for it, and they force third down stops because Carolina's in bad down and distance, and they rally and they tackle. But if Carolina goes to the air and features McMillan, Leggett, Coker, and, their running backs, I think Bryce Young could have a lot of completions and a lot of success, kind of like Jacoby Brissett did last week, who had over 400 yards and had a completion record last week against the 49er defense. So the 49ers probably will be a bit better at home in primetime on defense. They played a really great game against Atlanta in primetime earlier in the year. But all I'm really asking from Carolina is to score 20 points. That's the handicap. Can Carolina score 20 points, whether it be by staying in the game early, by throwing the football, or by coming back in the second half, being down, and throwing the football late, which I think they can do in either way, shape, or form. And I also believe they should have some success running the ball because they have a decisive offensive line versus defensive line edge in this matchup. And Rico Dowdle has been awesome this year. Now, on the other side, you have Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy in primetime at home against the Panthers defense that has the worst pass rush in football and has one of the bottom 5, 6, 7 pass defenses in the league. The Niners have led the NFL in pass yards per game this year, and they're also getting better running the football with a healthier offensive line intact. The Niners looked like a juggernaut last week and have really looked really awesome on offense, even with Mac Jones in recent games, because George Kittle is back 100% healthy. He's caught 6 and 9 passes the last 2 games. Christian McCaffrey is a man on a mission to get 2,000 yards, 1,000, 1,000. He's playing against the Panthers, the team that traded him, and it's a revenge game for Christian McCaffrey. So another reason to like the over. Jawan Jennings has been healthy and looks good. They still have Kendrick Bourne there. DeMarcus Robinson's healthy. All these options are healthy to throw the football to. Ricky Pearsall is healthy. And the way that I look at Carolina's secondary is they have J.C. Horn, but everyone else is susceptible. So if J.C. Horn's covering Ricky Pearsall, throw to Jawan Jennings. If J.C. Horn is covering Jawan Jennings, throw to Ricky Pearsall. And then at the same time, nobody is going to be covering Kittle and McCaffrey because the Panthers have terrible linebackers. And with time, Brock Purdy is really, really good. Brock Purdy, with pressure, he tends to hold the ball a little bit too long and throw the ball into tight windows. But I think that Shanahan will have all the answers throwing the ball vertically down the field as well as dinking and dunking his way down the field. I think that Purdy will have a massive game. Like 3 touchdowns, 300 yards is not out of the realm of possibility, as well as McCaffrey having a big game as well. So I think the 49ers are perfectly suited to put up 30 points. I would almost bank on it. So if that's the case, if the Niners score 30 to 34 to 38 points in that range, all I'm really needing from Carolina is to get around 20. Even potentially 17 would push this. So depending on how well the Niners are. So I expect the Niners to win this game, but I don't really trust their defense. So I'm going to go with the over. That's the way it goes. Thank you guys for watching, man. Those are my favorite over-unders for Week 12. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, Gronk spike the like button and subscribe. It's Mitch. We'll see you in the next video. Check out the last-minute best bets on Saturday. Peace.